Am I small? Hey, how you doing? There you go. That's better. Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's clobbering time, and today we're going to talk about Flash Gordon versus Buck Rogers. And as always, this is an open invite show, so people could come in and speak their piece, say their 2 cents, say whatever they want. And I'm going to filibuster a bit, see if anybody pops in. I'm not sure if Marcus is going to come this week. I think he had family obligations, so I'm not too sure. Hey, Haldir, if you want to pop in. For those of you who are new, for those of you who've never seen this before, don't know what I'm talking about, this is a weekly show. We do it at 8:30 on Fridays. And what we do is we just take two, sides and battle it out. Like, remember when you were 14, 15 years old back at the comic book store? And, who would win, Spider-Man or Mickey Mouse? You would just have these fictional intellectual fights, and sometimes they would get pretty heated, but we never really lost that temper or anything like that. It was all in good fun. And then, for me anyway, around the 90s, in the aughts, it turned into message boards, and that's what we did. We all talked this stuff on message boards. And the message boards, it got a little nasty because you're not in anybody's face. It was you could curse and say nasty things about people, and there's really nothing you could do because it's a message board. So that didn't last too long as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't that much fun. And now I brought it back. This is half message board, half in person, you know what I mean? Because we're on YouTube, but at least we can see each other's faces. So everybody's welcome. Again, I'm filibustering to see if anybody shows up. Here's the thing. Just pop in, turn on your camera. If you've never done this before, when you click on this link, a new window's going to pop up. Turn off your YouTube. Otherwise, it creates like an echo feed. You know what I mean? I had to learn that the hard way when I was a guest on other people's shows. You got to turn off the YouTube window. So there's just a StreamYard. So we got Caleb. How you doing, Caleb? We got a bunch of people watching. Not a lot of people commented. So usually at this point, I have like a weird little format that I use for this. Usually it's Marcus and myself, and one of us picks one side and one of us picks the other, and we talk about the character. So it's not just right away talking about beating each other up. We talk about information about the character. And the reason why I picked this, because I don't really I know Flash Gordon pretty good. I used to watch the serials with my dad, but Buck Rogers I don't really know much about. So I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions about Buck Rogers, learn a little bit. Because last week we did the Shadow versus Batman, and that was kind of fun, Batman has his feet firmly planted in the pulp era. So I thought we'd go back to the pulp era. And I'm going to give it 5 minutes, and then I'll start talking about the characters. So now I'm just, so the format. So the format of the show is one person champions one side, and we talk about their origins, how they were created, who created them, any interesting stories about their creation and things like that. Then we usually talk about like their abilities, their standard abilities. We understand that Hulk went through a couple of different iterations. Iron Man has various armors. So we talk about like the standard, most used, like Batman. You could argue anything's in Batman's utility belt, or you know what I mean? So we do the standard average character. Like at one point, Spider-Man had cosmic powers when he was Captain Universe. We're not talking about that Spider-Man. We're talking about the average Spider-Man. So that's what we do. And then we talk about like some of their best stories, their memorial villains, and like cultural impact. And then we do the other side, and then we come up with some sort of scenario and see who would win. And we don't always agree. I think we had like 6 people, and at one point it was like 3 versus 3, and then the chat also voices their concerns. So hey, Gray Wolf, how you doing? Again, one more time, because it's gonna be lonely to do this by myself. Hope somebody else pops in. As always, here is the link for anybody who wants to pop in and talk. It's clobbering. Excuse me. It's clobbering time. Let's do the in-house stuff first. Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be doing Sunday Comics. And what will I be talking about? Well, I will be talking about, I think it's right here. Or is it? No, here it is. This comic right here, G.I. Joe #1. G.I. Joe #1. So that'll be fun. Spoiler alert, I liked it. I don't usually do Sunday comics with comics that I don't like. I usually don't even talk about comics that I don't like. So then we're going to do that. Next week, I have a couple of guests lined up. I went back to recruiting guests. I just got slack for a week or two. So there's that. All right. So now, so at past 5 minutes, we will officially begin the It's Clobbering time. And I will throw out the link. If anybody, I'll put a star on the link. And there you go. If anybody wants to pop in. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about Buck Rogers first. Okay, I had to do research on Buck Rogers, so I took some notes. So I'm looking at my notes because I was kind of hoping somebody else would pick Buck Rogers. But Buck Rogers came out in 1928. It was in a pulp magazine, and the first story was called Armageddon 2419 AD, and written by Philip Francis Nolan, and amazing stories. Is anybody unfamiliar with pulp magazines? Pulp magazines were smaller, like pocket-sized books. I think they were a dime each, and they predate comics. The legend has it that we kind of accept as true, that there was penny dreadfuls, and a good example of a penny dreadful is in the movie. Why can't I think of the movie? Gene Hackman's in it. A cowboy movie. It's gonna drive me nuts. But in the revival, Gene Hackman. It's gonna drive me nuts. But anyway, there's a guy following around one of the other characters, and he's writing his story, and they're like quickly written pulp novels, but they were called penny dreadfuls. I've never seen one in real life. Then they went to pulps, which were mass produced. There was like amazing stories, weird science, startling stories, astonishing stories, things like that. And what they like, H.P. Lovecraft was published in. I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft. It was a dime, and you got like a bunch of stories. A lot of them were continued into the next issue. And then later on, as the Unforgiven, thank you, D.C. Miller. That's the name of the cowboy movie, The Unfamiliar. It was directed by Clint Eastwood, I think, right? And these pulp, later on, like Lovecraft stories were like Reanimator was an experiment of his. He wrote it purposely to be broken up into chapters, and then later on it was collected. Like Conan was originally chapters in pulps, and then they were collected into novellas, I guess, things like that. So Buck Rogers was one of them. I did not know this. Again, this was the research that I had to do, because I'm glad I did, because I was hoping that Marcus would tell me about Buck Rogers. Again, I know more about Flash Gordon than I do Buck Rogers. But he was Anthony Rogers, a 29-year-old World War I veteran and mining engineer from Pennsylvania. And while working in a coal mine, he exposed to a mysterious radioactive gas that put him into a state of suspended animation. Not death. Remember, back then, radioactive gas didn't kill you or give you cancer or mesothelioma. It put you in suspended animation. Excuse me. And he remained unconscious for 492 years, waking up in 2419 to a radically different, changed America. It was conquered by the Han Air Lords, a technology advanced race of Asiatic invaders, the Chinese, and he finds himself in the middle of a resistance movement led by scattered American guerrilla fighters, including a woman named Wilma Deering, destined to become his recurring companion in the later versions. It says here that the original Buck Rogers was more grounded in dystopian adventure than the flashy space Buck Rogers would later become. There's no sleek spaceships or alien planets, just gritty post-apocalyptic Earth, where he uses his 20th century grit. I guess in the future they don't have grit in the future. And then it was popular enough to get a sequel, The Air Lords of Han, in March 1929 issue, but Buck's real leap to fame came when the character was adapted into a comic strip. So So it went from a pulp fiction to a comic strip. Now, I'm taking for granted that you guys watching this understand and know what a comic strip is. That's like another thing that I'm realizing. I said at work the other day to an apprentice that I was thinking of putting a comic strip in my next Heroic Tales comic. And he was listening politely, and then I realized he had no idea what I meant by a comic strip. So I go, like in the Sunday papers, you get the newspaper, you get Newsday, Daily News, whatever it is, and you open up to the comic strips, Peanuts, and no clue. He didn't know what Peanuts was. I was like, my beard got darker, longer, and grayer. I was like, oh my God, didn't even know what Peanuts was, didn't know Calvin and Hobbes, didn't know The Far Side, no clue. This is a 22-year-old kid, no idea what I was talking about. So I'm gonna pretend that you guys don't know what I'm talking about. But we used to have these old-fashioned things called newspapers, and it was printed on newsprint, the same thing as old comic books were. And we'd open them up and we'd read about what's going on in the world. And in the middle, there was cartoons, Peanuts, Far Side, Calvin and Hobbes, Kathy, for better or for worse, all Sally Forth. Some of them were funny, some of them were serious, some of them were cartoons, and one of them was Buck Rogers. So it says on January 7th, 1929, before even the novella hit the stands, Buck Rogers, the 25th century, debuted. And so Nolan wrote the strips, and artist Dick Calkins drew it. The comic gave Anthony the catchier nickname Buck and shifted the timeline slightly. He waited in 2030 instead of 2019. So he 30 minus 19 is almost like 11 years went by. It also leaned harder to futuristic tech and adventure, setting the stage. So there you go. The original one wasn't about ray guns and rocket ships. That came later. And then the rest is history. He just he fought. It was space operas, fighting aliens and fighting in rocket ships, things like that. So if you're curious about how it compares to later versions, you can see the Han Dynasty stuff and blah 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 blah. So that's all the notes. Basically a Wikipedia, but not a Wikipedia. It was a Buck Rogers website. So we had, and then of course, we probably more no, and even this is dated now that I'm saying it. Oh geez, in the 70s, I think 79 to 82 or something like that. There was a Buck Rogers in the 25th century starring Gil Gerard, and everybody remembers Aaron Gray as a. I got to get a picture of that Aaron Gray as Buck Rogers. That's like the first thing pops up when she's known for Silver Spoons and Buck Rogers, and where's the image that everybody loves? There's one particular, well, this one I love. We'll get that, but there's another one. There's another image of her. But she was like one of, everybody says like she was one of their first crushes, in my age group. Whereas there we go. I'll just take these two pictures of Aaron Gray, just super cute. Who cares about Gil Gerard? Let's be honest. So this is the one that always comes up. In her purple outfit. And that hairstyle was so big back then. It's funny because like they didn't even try to give her like a futuristic hairstyle or anything like that. So that was her as Wilma Deering, and this is another image that I've always liked of her. Remember the episode, and you can see Twiggy behind him. Twiggy was the R2D2 type robot, and he was two robots. On his chest, he had Dr. Theopolis. So he was Twiggy and Dr. Theopolis, and Twiggy was voiced by Mel Blanc in a very, very annoying voice. I'm going to keep this up there because I can't stand seeing my face so big. Let's look at the comments. Oh, cool. We got Ben Sabar. How you doing, Ben? How's everything? We got DC Miller. I'd like to read that original version. I'm back on my quest to read the original inspirations for comics. Like, I just got the Scarlet Pimpernel. I just finished the first Doc Savage. And Larry Lieber, brother of Stan Lee, when I called him, we talked a couple of times. I got to call him back, and he gave me a PDF copy of his unpublished novel Chirps. Well, his book is finally being published, so it's just so cool because he really wants people to read it. It's really charming. If you like Confederacy of Dunces, you'll like it. I get that feeling. You know, it's a little bit comedy. It's a little bit sad. It's really cute. I tell I'll read it and I'll tell my wife the story. She's enjoying it too. I'm not finished with it because I'm such a slow reader, and I only have it on my phone. I'm so glad it's finally coming out a novel. And this is a man that constantly lived in his brother's shadow, and now he has a novel published, something Stan never did. So I'm cheering for Larry. Wilma, yep, everybody loves Wilma. How you doing, Cam? Good to see you. Good to see you, Cam. Colonel Deering, yep. For me, Aaron Gray and Carrie Fisher, yep. Aaron Gray, Carrie Fisher, Beady, yep. Join the panel. Yeah, come on in, guys. Come on in. We got a bunch of people watching. Beady, yeah, everybody remembers that. Everybody remembers the Beady. So I'm going to put this link in here if anybody wants to come in and bail me out, because this show works so much better when there's somebody else to riff off of. So that's Buck Rogers. He was the first. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think. The Lensman. I forget what. I always bring up the Lensman, but they were a space opera also. I'm asking for reoccurring villains. And I gotta blow my nose. Yeah, the Han Overlords is pretty much. He had basically was the like an invading Chinese army. The Killer Kane was his first named reoccurring villain. He wasn't part of the novellas, but he was part of the comic strip. He was a traitorous human that started working for the aliens. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you need a recurring villain? Like the Punisher is one of the greatest characters of all time, if you ask me, and he barely has a recurring villain because he kills them. Don't forget Princess Helmsley as Princess Ardala. Yes, I got to bring that up. I was going to mention her. Princess Ardala is the other. Is it any wonder we are like this when this is the way girls used to dress in a TV when we were kids for children? I mean, it was for children, and this is the way she showed up. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. So these were the choices that you had as a kid when you watched your science fiction. That was primetime television outfits back then. Buster Crab was flesh gored back in the day. Yeah. So many knockout women on TV in those days. Yes. We had Linda Gray. Not Linda Gray. Well, Linda Gray was on Dynasty. I didn't watch that, but I meant to say Linda Carter running around as Wonder Woman. We had Pamela Helmsley as Princess Ardella. Look at that. Oh my God. There's more images of her that you just got to see. I distinctly remember another outfit that you wore, but okay, let me stop that screen. Share. Okay, there we go. I don't. Watching me manipulate technology is not that fun. That I remember. She was just. Oh man, Deering's white uniform was great. Now you're making me look for Colonel Deering's white uniform. Aaron Gray in white. Buck Rogers. Okay. Oh yeah. This the only thing that gets me about this is the gun. I keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, but there we go. That I'll stop that, and I will bring up Aaron Gray in white. But just look at the gun. You could just tell it's a plastic piece of crap. But I don't. She's just so cute, And she's like 90 years old, and she's still cute. I wouldn't say I fall in love with her, but she's still cute. Princess Ardala, says Richard Godwell. I had a huge. Who didn't? No. I'm going to correct you. You didn't have. Well, maybe you did. That's kind of arrogant of me to say that. But as I say, we all had a crush on Wilma Deering, but we all had a lust on Pamela Helmsley, right? That made a boy? Yeah, exactly. Now you have Ezra Miller, Amy Poehler, Dylan Mulvaney as the typical women on TV. This is what the internet was made for. Okay. Wilma looked better in the blue and the teal and the purple outfits. Yeah, this was the first season outfit, and they sexed it up a little bit. I had a crush on both of them. Yeah, yeah. You just made me think of a good It's Clobbering time for next week. I'll try to get more outfits for Aaron Gray, or if anybody wants to send them to me, send me your favorite shots of Aaron Gray or Princess Ardala. I mean, now this is just but look at this. Is there any wonder? Look at that. Yeah. She had the color outfits. Oh, in season 1, and what was it? Season 3 when Hawk showed up, joined the panel. Yep, joined the panel. She had that stupid searcher outfit in season 2. Okay, but look at that. So I'll stop that. I'll make my face small because I just can't stand seeing. So Buck Rogers to me was the most vanilla of the adventurers. You know what I mean? The stories were kind of yeah. I know. I wish people would join. We got a bunch of people. It only had 2 seasons. Okay, so Hawk, the guy with the feathers, the feather toupee. I wish people would join because I feel like I'm stuttering. I feel like I'm stammering. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about with Buck Rogers before we move on to Flash Gordon. Because Flash Gordon I could talk about a little bit more. The biggest theme in Buck Rogers, Gil Gerard was like a cool uncle. Bill, yeah, you know what? Let's be a little bit less creepy and actually bring up Buck Rogers. Yeah, so I'll bring up an image of Buck Rogers. And while I'm searching for that, Gil Gerard, Buck Rogers. It's funny because that's like the first thing that pops up when Gil Gerard shows up. As he had the outfit also. His gun is a little better. We will share a screen with that. And while I thought it was Sharon. Oh, there we go. And while we're sharing, Paul Montague will show up. How you doing, Paul?
Doing great, John. How you doing?
Good.
I couldn't help but jump in since nobody else was jumping in. It's like,
Marcus is usually here with me, but he's at his dad's. He told me he wasn't going to be able to come.
Yeah, anything involving Buck Rogers that's going to talk about Wilma Deering and Pamela Hensley, I'm in on that. So.
Yeah, well, first off, you have your own comic, right?
Yeah.
So give yourself a shout out,
I have the Tantalizing Adventures. That's on Fund My Comic right now, and it's Jungle Adventures. My jungle heroine, Alina. It's got 5 stories in it, and it's 92 pages, full color.
Yep, I got a copy. It was fun.
Yeah, I know. And I've got Got a pulp detective book on Indie Planet called 46th and Gone. I've got the first issue of that out.
Oh, that's a clever title.
Yeah, well, as a New York person, it's set at 46th Street, and it's a time traveling story. So that's on Indie Planet. I've got another book called Tantalizing Action: The Ace. It's coming out on Indie Planet, the first issue. It's eventually going to be collected into 3 issues, and I'll put that on Fund My Comic. That's my superheroine character.
Haldir, is it possible for you to put these links in the chat, please? If you want
Well, I don't know if I have. I haven't put the links in the chat, so I can.
Well, you can put it in the private chat. You know, if you're not a moderator, you can't put in links. Put them in the private, then I can throw them in there. I'm just appreciated that somebody else is talking for a minute. So I was talking about the themes. The major theme of Buck Rogers is the past versus the present. You know, like a lot of it is like they kind of played it up for yucks in the show, like that the men were like, I don't want to say effeminate, but they were like not as aggressive, like maybe low T is a better word. You know, like there's so much technology that people didn't work as hard or whatever. So Buck Rogers was like almost like a caveman that they were goofing on him, but he always showed him up. You know who else also showed him up? Cam, how you doing? Now people showing up. Thank you.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, Cam? Good to talk to you.
Great, nice to see you.
All right. So that was always, like I said, that was like the major theme, the past versus the present. You know, like I wonder, like, if we were to take a person from like even the cowboy times, which, you know, 100 years ago, and bring them to modern day America, like, would they work circles around us? Would they be physically stronger than us? You know, would they be? I'm of the opinion that we're getting stupider as a species. Of course, there's individuals that are smarter, and I don't mean that like whatever, we're just dumb. I mean it as like we don't need to solve problems the way the people did. You know, the technology. You know, not in an idiocracy kind of way. You know, I'm saying like I don't have to plan how to prepare food and store food, otherwise I'm going to die. That's not a problem I really have to struggle with here in America. But, you know, a cowboy or homesteader or 100 years ago, that was something that was a real concern. Like, do you really like take precautions against flus and cold? You know what I mean? Like we think we do, but I just imagine like back then, like you didn't want to catch a cold. That was a serious debilitating illness. So, you know, the way we would look at this cowboy, yeah, because he doesn't know how to use the internet and everything, kind of goof on him. But I bet you this guy would like know more about the earth, the weather. You know, I would starve to death in a wheat field. You know, I wouldn't know how to take these stalks of plants and turn them into food. You know, so anyway, that was like a big theme in Buck Rogers. Was they kind of made fun of him, but when the bad guy showed up, they were glad Gil Gerard was there. So yeah. I'm talking too much, even though I invited guests in. So Paul, Cam, take it away.
Well, I think you're right. That was the theme of the Buck Rogers TV show on TV. That they viewed him as almost this primitive guy, but his common sense solutions to things that they hadn't really experienced was what made the show.
Right.
But the show itself was pretty formulaic, and it just the main reason I watched it, and I was a kid at the time, was for Wilma Deering and Princess Ardala. I mean, that was I did meet Gil Gerard at a comic book show, probably 2002 or 2003.
Just gonna grab a soda. For some reason my throat is bothering me.
He was a guest at the Pittsburgh Comic-Con, and nobody was at his table, so I got to sit and talk to him, or stand and talk to him for quite a while.
Oh my God, that's like that just hurt my soul, because I went to a Comic-Con with my brother, and right next to George C. Romero was there. One of George C. Romero's last comic Comic-Con appearances. For those of you who don't know, he's the guy behind the Night of the Living Dead movies. And as much as I'm into comics, my older brother's into horror. So he was like, and it's funny because my brother's like this 6'4" biker, with his leather jacket and all his patches and everything. Like, he's a scary looking guy. People get out of his way, and then he sees George Romero and he was like, and right next to him was Richard Daly. He played the Major Healy on I Dream of Jeannie.
Mm-hmm.
No, like the George Romero booth was huge. Then there was Richard Daly, and then next to him was Elvira. So there's two lines.
Oh man!
Just sitting there, nobody was there.
That's a horrible location to be seated in. But
I felt so bad for him. And he was sitting sideways, so he didn't have to make eye contact with anybody.
Yeah, that is kind of sad when you see a little less, someone's a little lesser known,
Here's the kicker, though. He had a plastic Genie's bottle that he was selling, and the Genie bottle, I mean, it must have been like a prop that you could buy because it had a printed card, and it said signed by Barbara Eden, signed by, what's the other guy's name, the major actor?
Larry Hagman.
Yeah, signed by Larry Hagman, signed by Barbara Eden, and then in Sharpie on the bottom, signed by Richard Hatch. or
Richard Daly.
Richard Daly. And I'm like, so I don't know. Comic book conventions, they make me nervous. When I call that the human zoo. When you're at the human zoo and nobody's at your line.
Well, it's strange. Sometimes it depends on the convention some people you'll go to a convention and the person will have a line, and then you'll see them at a different convention, and maybe it's one that they go to all the time, so people have already seen them there 1,000 times, and they don't have a line. And I've experienced that a couple times with different celebrity guests where they don't have a line at all, and they really appreciate when somebody comes up and just starts talking to them. Because they're just sitting behind the table, twiddling their thumbs, watching people walk by, not expressing any interest. And they're only at that show to try to sell signed photos or if they have a book or whatever it is. So, it's it happens a lot with some of the older artists, the older comic book artists. You'd go to some of these New York shows, and it would be the hot new artists would have all the crowds and lines, and they'd be on panels, and nobody would go see Dick Ayers or go see Rudy Nebres, and you could really talk to them and learn a lot about comic book history just from talking to the greats, the legends.
You're 100% right. We went to a comic. When my wife moved here, we went to the Javits Center for the New York Comic Con, and I was so nervous because I'm like, I'm bringing my wife, she's gonna hate it. But I made sure that we did wife stuff. You know what I mean? So we went to the Comic Con. We'll look at everything, and as much as I'm looking for deals in the back issues, we went to panels. But I forget who I was talking about. I waited online to get something signed, and two things down was Carmine Infantino.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
One of his last appearances before he passed away, and he just sat there. And my wife, I wasn't paying attention because I'm counting how many this guy's talking too long. And I'm doing typical husband stuff, And I get my comic signed, and my wife goes, "Look at that old man. He's just nobody's going to his booth. I just want to hug him." Like she just felt bad for him, and I didn't even realize it. And I'm like, that guy's a legend. That guy is what like two people behind Jack Kirby in comic book importance in history.
Yeah, he did some of the best Flash. My favorite Flash.
Right. So I went over, and I'm so glad and I didn't have anything for him to sign. We just talked. He shook my hand, and he was so nice to my wife, and he told, he was just pleasant, and I was like, what do I do? Tip him $10? It was very awkward.
Yeah. Well, some of these guys, being a comic book artist was not exactly a prestigious job when they were working, and I can remember going to MegaCon down in Orlando one year back in the early 2000s, and you know, Russ Heath was there, Nick Hardy was there, um, who else? Dick Giordano was there.
Yeah, legends.
I mean,
legends.
and you know, because Florida, obviously, a lot of retired, a lot of elderly people moved down to Florida. So all these former New Yorkers had moved down to Florida, so they were at this show. But you know, everybody was crowding around the tables for you know, the current teams, the current writers, the current artists. So they, you know, I ended up getting a con sketch from Nick Hardy and a con sketch from, you know, which how many people have Nick Hardy artwork? You know, I mean, the guy was working in the 40s.
You know,
I'll get Kim.
Oh, I'm sorry. A real quick story. It was from. I remember Jim Shooter telling a story one time. It's not about an appearance necessarily, but he said that he was at a con where Jack Kirby was there and had a original art of his was being auctioned off or something. And it's, you know, this is like in the early Image days, you know, when it's like all the hot artists, you know, and everything, and it was going for like no money. And you know, I think Shooter might have said that he bought it, and it's like, you know, again, a true legend is just kind of pushed off to the side because of the new hot thing, you know, and it's
Not to sound all like dig me, but when Jim Shooter was on my channel, he told that story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bid on the Jack Kirby, and it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. You know, another thing you reminded me of, and you get, everybody's going to get mad at me when I tell them this story, but I think this was the second time I took my wife to New York Comic Con, and then, you know, and afterwards we went out to dinner in the city and stuff like that. We made a day out of it. Guys, that's how you get your wife to go to comic conventions with you. Make it a date night. You know, go do something she wants to do too. But anyway, I'm standing. I forget who I'm standing, but I'm right in front of Ramona Frieden, and she drew a Justice League sketch for me. All the characters, just, you know, everybody in the Justice League while we were talking. And I forget what I even gave her money. You know, I gave her money for that. You know, I wasn't. But she gave it to me, and I put it in a comic book, and I have no idea where it is. I got 56,000 comic books. It's in one of the comic books. So you know what I mean? So someday when I die and somebody steals my comics, they're going to find a Ramona Frieden original Justice League art sketch and like, look at this crap, and throw it away. John, I have a Gil Gerard story. Yeah, come on in. You know, that's what clobbering time is. It doesn't sound like we're fighting too much, but we'll get to it. We're going to close out on Buck Rogers pretty soon, maybe after Harold Berg's story, because I'm just, you know, like, again, the TV show theme was Caveman Guy Does Good. It was kind of like, yeah, we know what we could talk, because he was from our age. You know, he's one of our guys. Yeah. He was, I think in the TV show he was a Korean War vet. Yeah, I don't think he was.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think, but he was some sort of a vet, you know, and he goes to, and Princess Ardala, she was craving him because he was like a real man, where everybody else in the future was like weak and effeminate. You know what I mean? Like, again, just think of this. They just announced like a week ago that, like, Japan perfected this human movement robot, and it's like for $25,000 you could have like a robot that like does all your housework. So just imagine in 10 years, I'll buy one, do my laundry, mow my lawn, you know what I mean? You know, and just think about how fat and lazy we're going to get, you know, and then that imaginary cowboy is going to be like, don't you make any efforts? And we're like, no, get me some chocolate, robot. You know, there we go.
Wow.
I only recently noticed Ramona Frieden recently, really fun artist. Yeah, we were talking that she has a PhD book. She went for a PhD and then wrote a book about it. And I bought the book. It's sitting on my bookshelf, and I haven't read it. It's too over my head. How you doing, Herrenberg?
Hey, can you hear me? Oh, very good. Yes.
Yes.
I love Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, and I have a little story about both, I guess. Yeah, both, actually, technically. Do you have a minute?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, well, Sam Jones, I just met him a couple times at Comic-Cons. Met him at Big Apple Comic-Con, and yeah, he had a panel. It was really cool. Nice guy. But Gil Gerard, Herrenberg actually has a connection to the Gerard family So, 4 years ago at the big Comic-Con here, the one which is very pop culture oriented, called Steel City Con, there was a woman selling her homemade jewelry and stuff like that, and she went under the name of her booth was Rust and Ray Guns. That was the name of her booth. And I will tell you who she was. She was Gil Gerard's wife, Janet.
Okay.
Yeah. And Gil wasn't there, but he was like around. They live in Georgia. And so I met his wife and bought some objects from her to use for a costume. And since then, her pieces that we used, she gave me, actually, I just bought one and she gave me two more. So she was very nice about it. And yeah, we've been using her costume pieces, Janet Gerard's costume pieces, as accessories for a character. I can actually show you the ones that she made. How do I do a share thing?
Are you on a phone? Because I don't think you can do it on a phone. But if you're on your computer, on the bottom.
No, I'm on a laptop. Yeah.
It says present, and then share screen.
Oh, present. Yeah. Okay, present, and I will share the screen. And
for those of you who don't know, Herrenberg produces a series of I guess the term is TV shows, but it's on web, and you can download these shows, and it's live action. They do superheroes. Once a year they make a comic book. So
yeah, comic books and videos he does. Yeah.
Comic books and videos. Yeah.
Great heroine.
All right. Are you seeing the screen?
Nice superhero stuff.
On. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is right up your alley. Paul likes.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Herrenberg.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I will say this: I've been given spoilers. Herrenberg, Paul, and you two guys especially are going to flip out for Heroic Tales #4, and that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, are you seeing it now?
Yes, I am.
So, the character on the right is Dark Spectra, who is the head of the villainous group, the Black Faction, and she's kind of wearing a modified Halo costume. But
yeah, it looks like Halo. Yeah.
Right, but it's modified 25%, so we can't get sued. Anyway, if you look carefully at the two bracelets she wears on her gloves, and also at the belt that she's wearing, studded with little colored gems. Those three items were made by Gil Gerard's wife, Janet, by her company Rust and Ray Guns. And I bought them from her personally at the Comic-Con, and we occasionally keep in touch through Twitter. We follow each other on Twitter. So that's my Gil Gerard story.
Okay. My buddy Mike, who made a comic book called Marshall Strong, who's a character in the Heroic Tales universe.
Yep.
He met Gil Gerard at a comic convention, and he said he was just the coolest guy.
Yeah, he is cool. It'd be really fun if we were able to at some point, meet with the Gerard family down in Georgia. So when I go down, I have their address and phone number and everything. So hopefully,
invite him on my channel. I'll talk to Gil Gerard.
That would be awesome if I could, get in touch with him personally. But yeah, I just know his wife. That's it. But anyway. On a totally unrelated note, at New Dimension Comics here in Pittsburgh last week, I found a series by Lone Star Comics, a black and white series. Do you know what that series was called?
Heroic Tales.
Oh, you know about it then?
Yeah, Bill Williams is the writer. He's my letterer.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I contacted him, and he said, use the name with my blessing.
That is awesome, because, it is Bill Williams' comic, and I found a copy for $3 and read it.
He said, John, use the name, because I took the name from an old 40s comic.
So the issue I have is deals with a hot heroine whose name is Amazon, kind of a.
I knew that was the issue you got before you even told me. I knew that.
You knew that. You just yes. I mean, I was like Heroic Tales with this super heroine. I've got to pick it up and yeah.
I didn't know that Bill Williams had a comic called Heroic Tales when I came up with the name, because
Right.
Heroic Tales, my comic, is supposed to be. It's it's no big secret, but it's inspired by Astro City, and Astro City by Kurt Busiek.
Yes, of course.
Every issue or two has a different hero, and that's what I was going to do originally.
You have the Samaritan and Winged Victory, and I forget the name of the Batman analog, the Hangman or something. The Execution. The what? Oh, the Confessor. That's it. Yeah, but he has
Alter Boy.
He has the sidekick Ultra Boy. That's right. Yeah, but those are
that's
cool.
what I was going to do. But then I started to think I might be shooting myself in the foot if I make a character, because people would tell me, oh, I really like this character. I like the idea that he's a positive father figure, and he's male masculinity and positive masculinity and all. So I said, am I going to, Richard Meyer made Jawbreakers, then followed up with a bunch of stuff nobody cared about, and it killed the momentum. So
okay,
issue number 2 is going to feature the Patriarch, and and if I do as well or better than issue 1, I'm spitting the Patriarch off into his own comic.
His own comic, okay.
So issue 3 of Heroic Tales was going to have the origin of the Patriarch, but
he reminds me a little bit of the Olympian too, from what is that? Jupiter's Legacy, the Olympian.
I didn't read Jupiter's Legacy yet, but
yeah, it's good. It's good.
That's a cool idea, John. I like that you're kind of have a core book, and then if you've got things that really hit you, they spin off from it. That's right. I know that's been done at some point, but it's not done very often anymore, I don't think.
Well, my problem is I only Renzo is my artist. You know what I mean? So
Renzo Rodriguez.
Unless we clone him. So Renzo and I were talking today. He says he can, because he finished all his other obligations. I don't want to be a jerk or anything, and the guy's got to pay his bills. So he says I think he was working another job now. He's like, I think I could speed up, and we could do probably like 2 or 3 issues a year. So that would be good, because I would like Renzo to do the Patriarch, and then I would like Renzo. He will have a pick of whatever, because Heroic Tales is going to be 2 heroes every issue, and he'll pick whichever one he wants to do, and then that enabled me to do this issue 4 sooner if Heroic Tales does really well, because I have to tell these 4 stories in a certain order for it to you know what I mean? There's a progression going on.
Is there any like in Astro City, some of the stories? I mean, the kind of the purpose of some of the stories is to involve regular people and their interactions with the heroes. Does that happen here too?
I have stories to do that, but I kind of bump up the superhero stories first, because if I was monthly like Astro City was, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could have like a really bizarre month and people like, okay, that was just 1 month. But if I'm only doing 1 or 2 a year, you got to do your big stuff. You know what I mean? So maybe as a backup in Heroic Tales, like the main story will be a hero, and then the second, because I do have a couple of civilian stories. Matter of fact, what am I talking about? Issue 4, the main character is a civilian, but he's a civilian talking about his interactions with the superhero.
Okay, so that's very much Astro City.
Yeah. Now, I just realized as I was saying, what am I talking about? I'm lying to everybody. Issue 4 is there's 2 stories, and okay, I'll give you another spoil, DC Bill. It's my multiverse issue. So there you go.
There was also a TV show on NBC in 2016 where civilians interacted. It was mainly about civilians, and the heroes were kind of on the edge of the stories. It was called Powerless. It only lasted for 1 season. It was the very last thing that Adam West ever did before he died.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
I never even heard of it.
Well, the only superheroes that actually they interacted with in the first season were Green Flame or Fire and Crimson Fox. It was a DC thing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Huh. But it was mainly about civilians making gadgets for a subsidiary of Bruce Wayne Enterprises, and then there were heroes that appeared around the edges, kind of like you could look out the window and see them lifting things and stuff. But yeah,
because there was a Marvel comic called Powerless. That threw me that it was a DC thing.
No, it had nothing to do with the Marvel version. No.
That was a funny show. It was. I wish it would have gone on.
Yeah, it was.
You saw it, Cam?
Yeah.
I never even heard of it.
When was this on? I don't even remember this.
2016. It starred Vanessa Hudgens, and it also starred the guy that played played the Palestinian guy on Community. What was his name again?
Yeah.
Abed, right? The same guy that same guy that played Abed was the comic relief on the show, and then they had some guests. They had a very beautiful woman playing a Latin actress playing Green Flame, of course, which was obviously a good episode. And then the very last episode starred Adam West, which turned out to be the very last thing he ever acted in before he passed away.
Wow.
And Alan Tudyk was Bruce Wayne's cousin. He was the guy that ran the company.
That's right. Alan Tudyk was in there too, I don't know. Alan is pretty good on Resident Alien, so yeah, and a whole bunch of other things. He was in Doom Patrol. Oh my gosh, a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I like him. I like him in Resident Alien, even though the show kind of ticks me off, because I love the comic Resident Alien. If you read the comic Resident Alien, it's pretty wholesome. It's about, he was just like an alien studying the Earth, and he crash landed, and he didn't want to hurt anybody, didn't want to interact. And he stumbles upon a dead body, and he takes that guy's identity.
He does, yes.
He has to wait until he's getting rescued.
He takes on the identity of a doctor.
Right. He just stumbled upon he found the guy dead. You know what I mean? But in the show, he kills him. He's there to annihilate the Earth, and it just made me not want to watch the show. Because I really like the comic. It's such a wholesome comic. And it's written by an ex-Doctor Who writer.
The TV show kind of reminds me of a cross between E.T. and Northern Exposure, maybe?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Perfect match. But anyway, this has nothing to do with Buck Rogers.
No.
I don't mind digressing because it's a conversation.
No, let's fight.
So, not yet. One last thing I wanted to say about Buck Rogers is I think he had a really big cultural impact. Like, maybe we take it for granted, but Paul, you're my age group. I'm assuming Cam, and I know Herodberg is younger than me.
Well, I'll tell you that Aaron Gray had a pretty big cultural impact on me. So,
but would you say Buck Rogers, like even before the Gil Gerard show, what did I say? Oh, Gil. Before even the show, do you think like it kind of created the look and the feel of like space operas and spacefaring adventures?
Well, which one came first?
I think Buck Rogers was first.
Okay, well then I guess it probably did create it. Yeah.
First over what? What do you mean? First, because Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers were movie serials back in the 40s, 30s.
Weren't they even radio before that?
I think so. So I'm not sure. I don't know where that look. I don't know if the look. I've seen some of the old Buster Crab. Like I've seen clips of the old Buster Crab Flash Gordon stuff.
The serials,
Yeah, and he had not the same kind of futuristic costume, but they had a similar, the ray guns and that was all there back then. So I don't know that I could say that the modern sci-fi look came from Buck Rogers necessarily. I think it was
Actually, I turned into that guy. I apologize, everybody in the world, for being the actually guy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, they were comic strips first. Yeah.
They were.
They were pulp stories first.
Pulp stories. Oh, okay.
Buck Rogers started out in the pulps in 1928 as Anthony Rogers, and then he became a comic strip as Buck Rogers, and Flash. The Lensman is next. I keep talking about the Lensman, guys. I cannot stress how cool and fun the Lensman.
Oh, the Lensman is very crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. That was in Astounding Stories. That was in the pulps, and Flash Gordon debuted in newspaper strips in 1934, just after the Lensman. So Buck Rogers also was a newspaper strip before Flash Gordon too, but it was originally a pulp strip. But I 100% believe that the Lensman directly influenced Star Wars. There's just way too much in the Lensman, and George Lucas said that he read Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, the Lensman, and all that stuff. And I heard rumors that why can't I think of his name? Ron Howard has purchased the rights to make a Lensman movie, which I'm so glad it didn't come out during this woke era, because the Lensman is the most unpolitically correct comic or novel, or whatever. The example that I always give is they're lining up to go into this rocket ship, and even though they have faster than light travel, when they land on a planet, they basically live there. They colonize the planet that they live on.
Yes.
And they have contact with the Earth and stuff like that.
And there are various primitive beings, right?
Well, that's another thing, but I'll get back to that. But anyway, what's the quartermaster, the guy who's doing the logistics and anything like that? He goes, "Oh, you're gonna like it today," and all the soldiers, all the spacemen are all lined up over here, and then there's a line of beautiful women, and they all pick their personal assistant. So each man gets a beautiful woman assistant, and then enough cigars, steaks, and whiskey to sustain them on the journey. So, I just loved it. So
it sounds like an episode of Mad Men too. Yeah,
the Lensman is not portrayed as Mad Men in space. They're not doing like they literally have the women do a 360. All right, hot chicks, cigars, whiskey, steaks. We're ready to go.
Yeah,
they don't
turn
need
around.
Plutonium, they don't need dilithium.
This ain't the Mary Tyler Moore show, I'll tell you that.
Sign me up. I'm going on that space journey. They got to populate a planet.
Yeah.
But that's the Lensman. So I do think that Buck Rogers, because we got Bugs Bunny, we got Duck Dodgers in the 25th and a half century, stuff like that. I got a board game I'm looking right at. It's called Ray Guns and Rocket Ships. One faction is basically Buck Rogers, another faction is basically Flash Gordon, and another one is like the Martians from whatever it is.
Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tested that game when I was working with the company that the guy pitched it to before it eventually got published. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's a cool little game.
What did you think of the game?
I liked it. I love the retro sci-fi pulp kind of stuff. So it's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I really like it, and I have a group of hardcore gamers, and it was very controversial because it's. You just can't take the game seriously. If you want to play a serious strategy game, Ray Guns and Rocket Ships is not your game. Because
you're right. It's a fun game, but honestly it probably could have used a little polish.
Yes, it needs a revamp. The rules need to because there's room for argument. But if you just want to have a good time, and you don't really care who wins or not, you could be laughing because you could be flying in space to attack your partner, and then your ship blows up and you're stranded in space. So you go on a suicide run. I like it because it's you gotta just understand that we're playing Ray Guns Rock. We're not getting it serious, But
you could be standing on a small planetoid thumbing a ride.
Yeah, you could. By the way, I listened to the Lensman audio. You said that last time I mentioned the Lensman, and I said good choice. I got to get a book for audiobook, and I forgot to download it. Little hint for anybody's into the Lensman. In the last book, The Red Lensman, it's the first female Lensman, and she's basically described as you talk about Mad Men. What's her name? Christina Hendricks is exactly what this character looks like, and they make her a Lensman because there's a planet full of nude women that becomes important for reasons I won't explain, and men can't go there for obvious reasons. So they make her a Lensman, and she has to go there, and she adopts.
The name of the planet is the ladies' room.
And she adopts the customs of the planet, and then because she's a Lensman, she invites the other. So now a bunch of men come, and it's like, she's like, "Do you like my uniform?" And they're like, "Boy, howdy," They cannot. I can't see Ron Howard doing this novel or group of novels justice. Oh, and the original bad guy is Gray Roger, and it's goofy, and it's Buck Rogers in space. But once you find out what Gray Roger is up to, it legit turns into a horror book. I was like, oh, they got to capture this guy. They got to capture this. It turns scary. So I recommend the Lensman. It's a tough read, but it's a fun read. So the Big Red Lensman, yes. they flat out say for like 4 of the novels that women can't be lensmen. They don't have the capacity for rational logical thought. Oh yeah. And then they found the one woman out of a billion that could have rational thought.
And her name was not Barbarella.
No. I love them both, but Flash will always come out of okay. So Tony Grigo's focusing us. So I think we talked enough about Buck Rogers. Let's go to Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon was created by Alex Raymond. Alex Raymond is a legend. Just an absolute legend. He went to war. It won't. Did I lose people?
I'm here.
Okay, I heard noises and then I heard a click and I thought maybe I got disconnected. But he went to World War II and they gave his strip away to somebody else. And when he came back, they wouldn't let him do it. So he was just like, you know what? I'm going to make something even better. And he made Rip Kirby, which was full on straight detective, no mysteries. I mean, no mysteries, no science fiction, no magic or anything like that. And it is awesome. I'm reading Rip Kirby right now. I'm about halfway through the 1946 to 1948. So I'm surprised there's not a Rip Kirby novel or comics or movies.
Was there? Am I wrong about this, or was there also a character named Rip Hunter?
Yeah, Rip Hunter is a DC time traveler character.
Oh, he's just the time traveling guy from DC. Okay, right, because he's in
Well,
Legends of
may not
Tomorrow.
be the father of Booster Gold. Spoiler. At least
maybe.
At least he was in like the New 52 or something.
But he's kind of like a Flash Gordon type.
Yeah. Same with Adam Strange.
Strange, yeah.
So I might as well bring up a picture of the original movies. So these are this is why I'm more familiar with Flash Gordon than Buck Rogers. Is these serials that came out? These were like back then. You paid a dime. And I mean, this is before my time. This is before Paul's time. I'm sure. This is when my dad was a kid back in the 40s during World War II.
These played on Saturday morning TV when I was growing up.
Right.
Oh yeah. What was the name of the actress who played Dale?
Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. If anybody wants to look it over.
I'm sorry, I just don't know.
I'll go try to look.
Yeah, but this Buster Crabbe playing Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. See, to me, they're kind of interchangeable. But me and my dad used to stay up every once in a while on PBS, which was Channel 13 here in New York.
Yeah,
they would play these as like a 24-hour marathon to raise money.
I remember that too. They played that on Channel 13 here as well as Doctor Who. So
and me and my dad would stay up as late as we could. And my dad, that meant about 8:30, because he was a working guy, and I would stay up to like maybe 2:30. And when you're 9-10 years old, you're like, struggling to watch it. So I always saw the same first 6 episodes over and over and over again. But they were a lot of fun. Yeah. I enjoy these. This Dale Arden, she just became
Gene Rogers played Dale Arden.
Gene Rogers, thank you. And there was a different one in the next serial. There was 2 different actresses. But this one is cuter. I think the next one is like more sexy. But they would just, I don't know. I just love these, and they're very imaginative. And to me, Buck Rogers had that more. I keep mixing them up. Flash Gordon had that more concise story. He was athlete goes to space because a planet is literally coming to Earth, and it's Mongo. Ming the Merciless shows up.
Ming the Merciless, yeah.
And Ming the Merciless, he looks Asian. It's the full on Yellow Peril.
Yeah.
I mean, Buck Rogers fought the Han, Empire, or you know what I mean, and the Han Syndicate or whatever it's called. They were Chinese. Flash Gordon fighting Ming the Merciless, which was the Chinese communists. And which was cool. They had the section of the bird people, the section of the forest people, the section of the lizard people, and it was, I just something a little kid just absolutely loved. And this definitely inspired a lot of Star Wars, with all the different races, the different planets and everything. It's just so much fun to me. So it has a story with a goal: save the Earth from Mongo. You know what I mean? And what he does is the themes in this is basically fight the communists. Basically Ming the Merciless is the communist dictator who through oppression takes all these individuals and forces them to become the same thing. Arbor City, the forest people, the bird people, the beast people. Forget about your individual cultures and individual freedoms and become one under Mongo. And
So Flash was an early defender of diversity.
real diversity.
Real diversity. Yeah.
He inspired rebellion and freedom. I mean, Buck Rogers also
Right.
had the fight against oppression for the Han, both of them against the communists and everything. But this one had like a more Ming. We got to take out Ming. We got to fight Ming. We got to liberate these city states or empires or kingdoms or whatever. It was just I don't know. I thought it was more focused. But
I think there was a little bit more in Buck Rogers. There's a little bit more focus on science type stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know. I know more Flash Gordon, so I'm naturally biased towards Flash Gordon. But I'm not going to argue because I'm talking through ignorance.
Because one of the main characters was the scientist and so on.
Oh, Flash Gordon, yeah. Dr. Zarkov was the scientist. Yes. Yeah,
no. I met Buck Rogers. Well, you know what? They are very similar. Oh, damn.
No kidding. Yeah.
No wonder you confuse them. Yeah.
Yeah. The hot chick, the scientist sidekick, the dashing American.
Yeah.
Did Mac Raboy take over the strip? If he did, that's a real good reason to pick it up. Mac Raboy, for those of you who don't know, is he made like the greatest run on Captain Marvel Jr., basically a forgotten character today. And the legend of Captain Marvel Jr. is when Elvis signed his record deal, he went into the barbershop with the Captain Marvel Jr. comic and said, "Make me look like that."
Oh, and that was on Fawcett, right?
Yeah, Fawcett Comics. So so Captain Marvel. I mean, Elvis. When you see he has that white star outfit with the cape and the pompadour, that's Mac Raboy's Captain Marvel Jr. There you go. Gene Rogers. DC Miller is good. He's like my napkin. When I spill stuff, like when stupid stuff comes out of my mouth, he wipes it up and cleans it. That's a stupid analogy. What am I talking about? Buster Crabbe played them both. He did. He played Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon.
Did you guys ever watch the 1979 animated Flash Gordon?
Absolutely.
I did see it, yeah.
There was a Tarzan
a long time ago.
Yeah. Where they would use the same stills over and over again. Every time the elephant walked by, it was the same elephant.
Yeah, that's Filmation classic animation right there.
Yeah, but it worked. Yeah. I loved it. He's for every one of us. Stands for everyone. He's the mighty Flash. Go Flash, go.
Well, you know what I liked about Flash in that series? It's probably in a lot of different versions, but it's like he's just kind of a regular guy, but highly capable. It's like, and he doesn't shy away from things. He's just like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like Earthman. It's like very brash and heroic, but just a regular guy when it comes down.
Yeah, ODF makes that good point that I was trying to make, which is Flash is more kind of like fantasy in the future, but Buck has more of a science spin to it. Yeah,
okay, I'll buy that. Yeah,
like putting technology up forward a little more with this. Yeah.
Yeah, because in Flash Gordon, Mingo City was floating over, and there was like a shadow on the people, kind of like that inspired Jack Kirby's New Genesis. Remember the people that Bug came from lived in the shadow of the floating city. There was that stuff. That's pure fantasy. So yeah, I guess we had the Star Wars, Star Trek debate back in the 30s, because I always say Star Wars is science fantasy, Star Trek is science fiction. So maybe
it's the same debate. Yeah, basically.
Eternal debate, Paul. How is that?
Yeah. Well.
Tony Grigo, I got here late, but have you preferred Buck Rogers, Killer Kate? We talked. Yeah, that's like his only recurring villain, Killer Kate, who's a fellow human who betrayed the Buck's faction, basically the futuristic Earth people to the Han dynasty. Yeah, so he's the Benedict Arnold of the future. Buck had Tiger Man, Flash had Lion Man. Oh, I didn't know Buck had Tiger Man. I know the TV show had the guy with the bird feathers. Now I have to bring up everybody knows the Flash Gordon TV show, movie rather. Go Flash, go with the semi-disco music from Queen, but there's one particular image that
Oh, are you talking about the Ardala image?
Yeah,
Okay. I like that one.
Ardala and Dale are. All right, so we got to get images of them.
They're in the
our kids came up.
they're in the chamber or whatever. Or
Uh,
actually, yeah.
So, let's. So, tell you guys while I'm searching this. Tell us about Flash Gordon. Anything that you know? I know that DC did a series in the '90s where he was from the New York Giants. Oh yeah, well he was also a football player in the movie. Yeah, there you go.
He was, yeah.
There was a porn movie in the '80s called Flesh Gordon.
It's funny that you said that because in the interest of research, I watched that a couple of years ago for two reasons. One reason, it was legendary when I was a kid. You got to watch Flesh Gordon. You got to watch. And for those of you youngins, you couldn't just go on the internet and look for movies. You know, you actually had to put in some effort. So, like, you didn't get the quality porn that you could get today for free.
No, you had to go to the woods and find it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody has that story. Mom, I found this box of porn in the woods.
Hope it came to your local porn theater. We had an old theater that stopped showing first run movies, and they stayed alive by showing porn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had one of those here too. It was called The Garden, and it's actually still there, but they recently turned it into a yuppie condo apartments. So that's how it works.
That's how it works, exactly.
Yeah. But so I watched it maybe 2 years ago. And it's surprisingly good. And there's an animated section of a robot, and they call the robot an unpronounceable name, but it's Harry. How do you say his name? Harry Hassan, the famous animator from all the Sinbad movies. I can never pronounce his name correctly, but whatever his name is, he turned it around backwards, and that's the name of that character because his assistant made that animated sequence, and it looks just like the Sinbad movies. It's actually better than the movie should be, and I mean it's a movie film, and there's some creepy. The Ming character has this makeup on that's absolutely 100% terrifying. There was a series of movies that hired this makeup artist and he's terrifying. Ray Harryhausen.
Harryhausen.
Harryhausen. You never say his name right. But
yeah,
if you,
Sinbad. He did all the Sinbad stuff.
Right. Yeah.
If you read his name backwards, that's the name of the creature, the animated like iron bird creature. But anyway, what Flesh Gordon was Mingo City. He had the horny ray, and he was firing it at the Earth, and everybody on Earth just stopped what they were doing. They're just gonna have sex until the Earth was defenseless and Mingo was gonna conquer. You know, it was a goofy porno, but it wasn't. Here's the thing, though: it was supposed to be a full-on X-rated porno, but it was basically soft porn because they couldn't get it made. If there's only one scene with actual full-on porn, and you can barely see it. And I didn't rewind it 600 times, contrary to popular belief. But again, it was a legendary movie, so I had to see it. I went through, like, I was like, all the movies that I heard about as a kid. I went through this phase. I'm like, I gotta watch them. I'm gonna watch them. Like, don't think less of me, guys, but like, I'm gonna watch Debbie Does Dallas. It was a legendary movie when I was in junior high school, and then I finally watched it. I was like, okay, I watch it. And then the other one was
Emmanuel.
Yeah, those were dull, but
Oh, okay.
What's the one that I'm thinking of?
Debbie Does Dallas was our fundraiser
Midnight
for
Cowboy?
our dorm floor in college.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the one with Cindy Williams? I think Cindy Williams. She made this movie before Laverne and Shirley, and then it was sat on the shelf. And then when Laverne and Shirley was a hit, they broke it out, and the people from Laverne and Shirley were like, "Oh my God, Cindy Williams was in it," but it was.
I don't.
I'll remember, but if so, Cindy Williams' first movie. but I had to watch that. This has nothing to do with Flash Gordon, but I just Googled and I spelled her name wrong. And it's really disgusting porn just popped up on my computer. I got to hit the erase. But anyway, it was called like something like the dirtiest film ever made or something like that. You know, it was goofy nakedness, but not actual porn. But it's funny that it's Cindy Williams. Everybody loves Cindy Williams, and her first movie was basically because she was dating the writer, director, producer of the movie, same guy. But anyway, this is what everybody's waiting to see.
That movie does not come up on IMDb under her credits.
Oh, really? Yes.
Not that I can find. It seems to not be under her credits on IMDb. So,
Cindy Williams.
Well, it does say she did something called the first nudie musical.
That's it. The first nudie musical.
There you go. It's on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie. It stunk, but I had to watch it. You know, so I got all of those. You know, just like I have to read all the characters that inspired comic books. Like you hear all these legendary movies when you're a kid. Like I was like the only kid in school to see Porky's. You know what I mean? So for like a month, I was like, "Oh yeah, John saw Porky's." You know, and I had to like describe Porky's to everybody because my older brother, took me to all the movies. No, Mom, we're gonna go see. You know what? She'd make something up, and then we're in the corner see Porky's. Be quiet, kid. Okay. So, and it's funny. My wife caught me watching Porky's when my neck was broken. I had nothing to do but sit down here and watch TV. She comes downstairs with lunch. She's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, Porky's. I felt like I was a little kid getting caught by Mom. She's like, "Go back to work." But this is Queen Ardala, Ming's daughter, or Princess Ardala.
Princess Aura.
Yeah, I'm getting the names mixed up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because there's this. You know, I always thought, you know, the what's her name, Dale Arden was cute in the Flash Gordon movie. I'll bring her up too. And there's a scene where she walks by and Dale Arden gets like, "What are you looking at, Flash?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just being like political or whatever." Dale Arden movie.
Well, there is a scene where she's in the chamber with the princess. I can't remember when that is, but I can remember what it looks like.
Yeah. Like. Yeah, she's.
What was her name? Ornella Muti or something like that? Is that who I'm thinking of? The Princess Aura? Was that Ornella Muti?
Did I kick somebody off? Or did Cam leave on his own? Sorry, Cam, did I kick you off? I didn't mean to. But
yes, it's Ornella Muti. Yes.
You know, yeah. Somebody says.
I can't remember names of good-looking women from the past.
Oh, Cam said he had to go. Okay, I'm sorry, Cam. I got scared.
My superpower, Harlenberg. I remember the names of good-looking actresses.
I'm okay with that too. If I see it a couple times, yeah.
Okay, Tony Grigo says any movie that has a soundtrack provided by Queen ultimately wins. Yes, and that includes Highlander. That's right. Queen did too. Like campy. I will say that this movie is campy, but camp is a very dangerous thing to do because camp. It's like you're walking a tightrope when you do camp. Like
no, it's definitely one of the best campy things.
Right.
I think
it worked, is what I'm saying. But a bad camp is unwatchable.
I mean, there was a lot of camp in the 70s, B-movie stuff. Like I'm a big fan of that movie, Invasion of the Bee-Girls, and of course there was Zardoz, which had Sean Connery in it.
Would you say Zardoz was campy? I didn't think it was campy. I just thought it was low budget 70s. I love Zardoz.
Yeah, I think it's kind of campy, man.
I love Charlotte Rampling. Oh my God, she's one of the sexiest actresses of all time. Craig T. Nelson provides the voice of one of the monsters in Flash Gordon. Oh, there you go.
Wow. Put me in, Coach.
the Filmation did a pretty good Flash animated series, and people have given me the name that I just could read it. Zach Dan, yeah, after the discussion that I just had, I need a blessed day. A horny Ray would be the worst thing. Yeah, that's that's what's kind of brilliant about it. Just how much could you just imagine? Like the world would be destroyed. You know, if everybody just stopped doing that, doing this. You know what I mean? John is a connoisseur of fine stuff. I do my research. Let's just leave it at that. It didn't get expunged. We were thinking, as long as it's a musical, it's just art. Yes. The main song that everybody remembers is "We Are the Dancing Dildos." That actress aged well. Yes, you did. Cam had to go. Thank you very much. Yeah, Cam, you're very welcome. I'm sorry you didn't get to say much. I kind of talked too much. Me and Harrowenberg, forget it. There's no oxygen left for poor Paul. So anyway, I do like what Harrowenberg was saying, and then Old Dirty Fatty kind of refined it. That Buck Rogers, yeah, it leaned into more sci-fi, especially the post-apocalyptic. You know, going into the rebelling against an oppressive empire. You know, I think that was more of a commentary on the day. It was more on the nose, if you ask me, than Flash Gordon had the same theme, but Flash Gordon did it more fantasy-wise. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a good difference. And who do you think influenced the culture more, Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon?
Wow, it's kind of hard to say, really. I think right now, though, I think Flash Gordon may have a slightly higher profile than Buck Rogers
I would say so too.
because the Flash Gordon stuff has been exposed to generations, whereas hasn't the Buck Rogers material been tied up in disputes for a while?
That might be true, and that might.
I'm pretty sure that's why nothing Buck Rogers has come out recently, because the possession of the property has been tied up in various disputes since pretty much the days of Gil Gerard, I guess. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like I do know this, that the that has no. Oh, I might as well bring this up. But there was a series called Fu Manchu. I'm sure people remember that, owned by the Saxe Romar estate, and the Saxe Romar estate has like exorbitant fees to use the character of Fu Manchu. Like if you see the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the bad guy was supposed to be Fu Manchu, but he snuck by like under the radar in the comic. But they couldn't use him for the movie, and to me that made the movie less good. But they had that Yellow Peril was a major theme in the 30s. You know, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Fu Manchu was the embodiment of that inscrutable, wise, evil Chinaman kind of thing.
Sure, goes all the way back to the Yellow Kid, really.
Right, and but my point being is, what's going on with these people? If somebody wants to put, like, when the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie, you want to use my character in a movie with Sean Connery, you say yes, because nobody's going to use Fu Manchu, especially in that was like the last chance, because it's such a politically incorrect character. There's no way that Fu Manchu is ever going to come back in any sort of way. So, you know,
they can't even use the Mandarin.
Really? Are they not using the Mandarin anymore?
I don't think so. Didn't they use some kind of adaptation of it that was more PC last time they used it?
Well, they didn't even use Shang-Chi. As far as I'm concerned, they didn't even make a Shang-Chi movie. By the way, check the Spirit TV pilot starring Sam Jones. Yep. I remember seeing that. For those of you who don't know, the Spirit is Will Eisner's big creation. And Will Eisner got criticized even in the 40s for his sidekick character.
But also, what are the names of the two movies that I think Flash Gordon has the edge here also, because there are two movies where Sam Jones plays himself as a character in a movie.
Yeah.
What movie is that? I watched them both, and I can't remember what they are right now. What? Oh, Ted 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
so
as I was saying,
there
was a Spirit TV pilot, you know, and they changed Ebony Brown's character's name into Yubi Brown, you know.
Okay.
But Ebony was like, here's another word that's not politically correct to say, but he was a pickaninny. You know, that's an old time word, which was a character. You know, like when we say blackface,
yeah,
like Robert Downey Jr. was not in blackface in
Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, blackface is a specific. It's pretty insulting now. Like, I'm the least politically correct guy in the world, but even
I mean, it's like a character in minstrelsy, isn't it?
right.
Basically?
It's an actor who puts on black makeup with no attempt to look black, like African American. It's black, like shoe polish, and then the lips are all white, and he's rolling his eyes and being
like
a
Sambo.
Yeah, character. So, like, what Robert Downey Jr. was doing was trying to play a black guy. You know what I mean? Like, not every white guy is black, but then there was
he was a white guy playing a black guy. He's a white guy playing a white guy playing a black guy.
But if everybody's seen the Little Rascal, Buckwheat was a pickaninny.
Yeah.
If they were really young, they dressed them like girls, whether they were boys or girls. So, like, Buckwheat, if you really watched young Little Rascals, you didn't know if Buckwheat was a boy or a girl. They, until he got old enough and you could see. And the hair was like braided. He wore like a dress, and that was just like a weird thing. And then later on, that kind of turned into a different character that looked like Ebony Brown in The Spirit. And he had the big lips, and he got real funny and everything. But the saving grace what Ebony was he was the smart one. The Spirit wasn't particularly smart. The Spirit had like a lot of energy and fight, and he could take a punch. But like, really, it was Ebony that was saving him. But even Will Eisner eventually succumbed to the pressure, and then he replaced him with an Indian named Blubber. But then he settled on a dumb white kid named Sammy, and nobody cares about a dumb white kid named Sammy. But anyway, Captain Marvel had like a pickaninny character sidekick for a little while too. That's just the way it was back then. I want to bring this up. Now tell me Dale Arden wasn't hot back in 1936.
Yes.
Can't show her belly button, but you could show headlights.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so who's Buck Rogers? It's me typing at 8:31 because I forgot to make the stream for.
We have no pictures of Aaron Gray yet.
We had him at the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. There is an 11-minute sequence on YouTube of her in spandex in every episode.
Yep.
So, just so you know, it exists.
Gulliver of Mars gave birth to John Carter of Mars, who gave birth to Buck Rogers, gave birth to Flash Gordon, which gave birth to Star Trek. Oh, wow. Gulliver of Mars? That is right. Gulliver's Travels went to Mars. I forgot all about that.
He did? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Everybody remembers the Lilliputian story, but he went to another
island. And the Brobdingnagians.
He went to another island where he was small and everybody else was giant.
That's Brobdingnagians, yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting. Yeah, I can't say that word. And then he
went
to another island of talking horses.
Okay.
And then he went to Mars. I forgot all about that. Yeah, Ebony may have talked funny, but he was a cool character. Yeah, and he drove the taxi and was constantly saving the spirits. Anyway, I think we're at
y'all were making the point earlier about Flash Gordon was more sci-fi fantasy, and Buck Rogers leaned towards sci-fi tech or sci-fi science.
Yeah, a little harder science fiction. Yeah.
And so I would say, well, sci-fi fantasy throughout most of the 40s, 50s, and 60s was what was being done. I mean, there wasn't much science in the science fiction. It was faux science completely. And then they started trying to have this semblance of this idea of, oh, there's some science to this.
Kind of after 2001 and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit with Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And then into 2001, and, they tried to make things more grounded in some sort of reality instead of just floating cities.
Yeah. Well, the science fiction kind of got harder too. The science fiction novels kind of got more elaborate and more techie. I think.
And so to that extent, I think Flash Gordon early on represented the direction that science fiction was at, or the place where science fiction was at. So you could say, well, Buck Rogers is definitely where science fiction has gone.
Yeah. And like before before Flash Gordon, you have the likes of like not just Gulliver's Travels, but stuff like Jules Verne. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, the horses were called the Houyhnhnms,
Right.
which is another name that's hard to pronounce.
See, a lot of them are. Lily Prussians would have been difficult if not for that wonderful cartoon that basically closed down Fleischer Studios. I love that cartoon. But when do you think you just made me think of something I never thought of before? Like early science fiction, it was kind of fantasy. Like you could say like Flash Gordon was early science fiction, but it was basically fantasy because you had talking apes, and an infant surviving in the wild. John Carter, science fiction, but it's really magic. You know what I mean? Like John Carter himself was an eternal being before he even went to Mars. You know what I mean? And then he floats to Mars, and then he becomes Superman. So yeah, I guess you're right that science fiction probably.
And don't even forget both Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, which were definitely
right.
fantasy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as weird as this sounds, I always put like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis in a Star Trek, Star Wars kind of dichotomy, whereas Narnia was super fantasy.
Well, yeah, but C.S. Lewis also had the series, the three novels on the other planets, Paralandra and this Out of the Silent Planet.
Yeah,
and those were on other planets, but it was still very fantasy-like, Yeah.
I like Narnia to me was like real super fantasy, and Tolkien was more. Hate to say this because it sounds so goofy to say that, but more realistic fantasy. Like I could buy Middle Earth, but I could never buy Narnia.
Yeah.
To me, Narnia was always an animated series, where Middle Earth, the Peter Jackson films, got it perfectly. Am I talking crazy? Does this sound?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it was always been like, more realistic fantasy. But I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But so
right. But C.S. Lewis also had a sci-fi trilogy as well. I really like the name of the one.
About Narnia. I was talking about Narnia versus Middle Earth.
Oh, right. No, I really like the name of the one alien race that C.S. Lewis invented, the Fiffletriggy. You know about that? Oh,
nope.
Well, okay. Well, they lived on Mars, so there you go.
Yeah. So let's get to the. To me, the hardest part of its clobbering time is sometimes it's just difficult to come up with a scenario of why they would be fighting. What did we do? We did the Shadow versus Batman. That was easy. Just put them in the same room together. You know what I mean? They were both going after the Joker, and Batman's saving the Joker because that's what Batman. There was really no reason to come up with a fight. It comes up with in the characters themselves. But why would Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon fight?
It would have to be a superhero the classic superhero misunderstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, like. Oh, good. Thank you, old dirty fatty. You're kind of crazy. All right.
Each of them would think that they were working for the enemy.
I must confess, General Kala in the movie made me feel all funny. Which one was General Kala?
She was like kind of the fascist general. She was hot. Yeah.
Okay, I got to look her up now.
In Flash Gordon, right? Yeah, she was in kind of like a tight black suit, I guess.
Oh, there was a third hottie in Flash.
Yeah. Gordon? Oh yeah. She was like the fascist evil hottie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I remember now. Yeah. She looks like her eyes are too far apart in her face. I remember her now. Yeah. I'm sorry. You could have her. There'll be no conflict with me. There you go. But yeah, she's sexy in a teacher is going to punish you because you didn't do your homework kind of way.
She looks quite a bit like Gal Gadot in the new Snow White, actually.
There's a new Snow White. Did anybody see? I know C.S. Lewis looks out of he just out of the Silent Planet. What did Tolkien write for his? I think Tolkien mostly. I don't think he wrote outside of fantasy or mythology.
No, he didn't.
I'm sure somebody's going to come up with something that I don't know. Narnia, I think, is high fantasy. While Tolkien Tolkien is still high fantasy. You got wizards and gods and evil spirits. And
Tolkien is definitely high fantasy.
Yeah, I would say like Conan is more low fantasy. You know, where there is magic in Conan, but it's like, to me, magic should be rare. Otherwise, it's not magical. Wrong, Gulliver. John, the one I'm talking about is Lieutenant Gulliver Jones. His Vacation, published in 1905. Oh, okay. Thank you, Tony.
Okay.
All right. Ming the Merciless captures Buck Rogers and brainwashes him to fight. Okay.
That'll work.
That'll work. Let's get rid of this hammer-headed shark woman. All right. So yeah. Okay. So we'll say that Ming the Merciless knows he's outclassed. Flash Gordon's got him. You know, Flash Gordon's got his girlfriend with him. He's got Ming's daughter with him. You know, the daughter's feeding him inside information because she's hot for that Earthman. And what do? Ming he ain't no fool. He's gonna get another Earthman to take care of that Earthman, right?
Yeah, and they'll fight in that arena, that tilting arena kind of situation.
Oh, Flash, go! You know, they'll play football or whatever.
Right.
So there you go. Thank you, Tony Grigo. You came up with the. Now, of course, everybody's gonna say Buck loses because he's under mind control and everybody, but we're gonna assume that they're both using their full capacities. That's the kind of evil madman Ming the Merciless is. Mm-hmm. So, what do you guys think? Of course, I'm biased towards Flash Gordon. You know, and I can't help but picture Gilderoy in his prime fighting Sam. What's his name? Sam Harris in his prime.
Sam Jones.
Sam Jones. And Sam Jones is still a big guy.
Yeah.
Know, right now, there's no question. Sam Jones is crushing Gilderoy, and probably 2 out of 3 of us here at the panel at the same time. He's a big guy. So, what do you guys think? I'll be quiet for a couple of minutes. Paul.
So you got Buster Crabbe in 1936 against Buster Crabbe in 1939.
Oh my God! It's a paradox. The whole space-time. Good night, folks.
The Olympic
athlete is his own grandfather.
He's 3 years older. He's going against his 3 years older self. Away from the Olympics for 3 years, but 3 years wiser. I don't know. I think Flash probably wins because a lot of Buck's ability came from the time paradox of being of knowing how to do things that the advanced society had forgotten how to do. Whereas Flash Gordon was skilled for his time period. And Buck's advantage of knowing how to do things that the advanced society didn't know how to do wouldn't exist in Ming's time frame.
Okay.
Because Buck's not as used to wizardry and fantasy and all that stuff. So,
but wouldn't Flash and Buck be from the same time?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So he doesn't have an advantage over Flash.
Yeah, so they're just
because of his time, because of when he, his advantage in Buck Rogers in the 25th century was that he was not from the 25th century. They'd forgotten a lot of things, and therefore his more practical, common sense knowledge helped him overcome situations. But Flash would have the same knowledge. So they have no difference in intellect at that point. So, I think Flash probably ends up winning, between the two of them. But that's my take.
Harrenberg, what do you think?
I mean, they're so similar. It's hard to say. Maybe Buck has an advantage with weaponry, whereas Flash has more of an advantage with like physical prowess. When I think of both of them, I kind of also think of Futurama, because what's the guy's name? The main guy.
Fry?
Yeah. Fry, exactly. He's kind of like a man out of time, and the people forget how to do stuff from the 20th century. But I really don't know. I mean, it would depend on who had better weapons versus who was stronger. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah. It like you said, it not only we
Like
think
what
about
helpers,
the character,
what
but they were
assist.
played by the same actor. You know,
Yeah, what,
they were literally the same person. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, if it was Sam Jones versus Gil Gerard, Sam would just be stronger. Period. But if it was the characters, maybe you got to think about supporting cast, like who's on either side that could really help them. They both have scientists on their sides. They both have hot women assistants.
And they both have like the daughter of their bad guy that wants. They're like the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know this. Maybe you guys can help me. The Buck Rogers TV show had Tweaky the robot, right?
Right.
Was that an original creation of the show?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so does Flash Gordon have a similar robot companion? He doesn't, right?
Not that I know of. No.
No.
So maybe Tweaky could somehow get in behind the scenes and devise some.
No, he's too busy going.
Okay. All right. Well.
Well, you bring up
he's useless. He's useless.
You bring up a good point though, Herrenberg, in looking at the supporting cast, because Dale Arden was a plucky heroine sidekick.
Yep.
But she wasn't a skilled military officer the way Wilma Deering is.
Oh, Colonel. She was a Colonel Wilma Deering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even in
so that might actually make the difference. Is Wilma Deering might be outclassing Dale Arden, which might turn the tide.
Mm-hmm.
And a classic cat fight. Who doesn't love that? A couple of weeks ago, I forget who it was, came up with the idea of asking Grok who would win at the end of every game. I picked Flash Gordon out of ignorance, because I like Flash Gordon. I have better memories with Flash Gordon. This is a totally emotional pick. Normally, like, even if I like a character, I will root for the other guy if it makes more sense in the comics. But Flash Gordon to me doesn't have, like, I never read the newspaper strips. I only saw the Gil Gerard show. So I'm trying to think of the original source material, and I have to say I don't know it as well as I know the Flash Gordon source material. So I asked Grok, and there's a big paragraph of like their characters. It says Buck Rogers, a World War I vet, he's resourceful tactician, skilled in guerrilla warfare. Physicality, he's fit but not superhuman. Gear, in the early comics, he has a rocket pistol. And he's pragmatic and determined. Flash Gordon's background, a Yale-educated polo player. So I don't know. I'm going with the war fighter over the polo player.
Okay.
Bill's excellent hand-to-hand combatant, swordsman, and marksman. Physicality, peak human, agile, strong, and fast. Flash is built for dynamic feats. Typically armed with a ray gun or a sword. And fearless and impulsive. So it says if it's ranged combat, Buck Rogers has the advantage with this rocket pistol, and I don't know why, but that's what Brock
And
said.
what about hand to hand?
In close quarters, it says it's Flash. It says, "Oh, we lost Paul."
Uh-oh.
I guess he didn't like Grok's answer. He says he says Buck is more of a strategist and a thinker and a military leader than a hand-to-hand combatant. Oh, good.
You said Flash is more
unintentionally knocked myself out.
Yeah, I did that a couple of days ago. But as I was
that's Google's AI in the private chat. That's what they say.
Okay, I'll read that after I'm done with Grok. But what Grok is saying that you missed when you bump, that says in distant combat, that I don't know how Grok came up with this. It says that Buck's rocket pistol is a better weapon than Flash Gordon's ray gun. I don't know. I'll take your word for it, Grok. But it says in hand-to-hand combat, Flash beats him because Buck Rogers is a military leader who's used to commanding soldiers and strategy, whereas Flash is it's the difference between a warrior and a soldier. A soldier is group tactics, and Flash is more of a soldier one-on-one. It's like, say, I'm trying to think of like Captain Kirk versus a squad of Borg or something like that. You know what I mean? It says that's what Buck shines. He's a survivor. He's the whatever. But a quick fight, Flash Gordon wins. In a drawn-out fight, Buck Rogers will use strategy and tactics and overcome. So that's what Grok says. And again, I'm arguing through ignorance, so I will have to.
I don't know, Paul. What do you think? That sounds like it sounds like a tie to me.
Yeah, I mean,
ties, because we always say ties. You know, in this situation, we have to say that Flash breaks the mind conditioning, and they both beat up Ming. But you know, so Google says Flash Gordon has scientific knowledge and martial arts skills, would likely edge out Buck Rogers, who relies more on futuristic technology and piloting. They both saying the same thing. Flash is a skilled scientist. Is Flash originally skilled scientist? I guess martial artist, a leader capable of fighting. While resourceful, he relies on his own abilities. Might struggle against overwhelming technology. Flash Gordon's strength is a pilot. They're not fighting in jets, and a master futuristic technology, giving him significant advantages in certain situations. Weaknesses: he might be outmatched in close combat and hand-to-hand combats where Flash has martial arts. Yeah, so it sounds like Buck Rogers would lean more heavily into Commander Colonel Deering's help and assistance. So I'm going to say it's not a tie. In a hand-to-hand combatant fight, Flash is going to win. But if you're going to war with Ming, you want Buck Rogers to lead the troops.
Yeah. Sounds good. That sounds good.
I will also accept this as an answer. Flash has hotter women, he wins.
I don't know. They were all pretty hot.
Yeah, Dale Art would drop some Queen, which would pump up Flash to kick. Yeah, there you go. Play a guitar riff from Freddie Mercury to inspire. It's funny that you said that, because when me and my friend Jimmy, when we were like 12, 13 years old playing our role-playing games, Jimmy had a superhero character whose one of his abilities was if he played Glenn Miller. It would revitalize it, and he would get like extra points and fight. So he would always carry it like a little boombox with him. Oh, you want to fight? And he would play some Glenn Miller. Let's go.
Create his own soundtrack, as it were.
Yeah. So, and the winner is Duck Dodgers from the 24th and a half century. As an ex-soldier, I'd give the edge to combat Buck Rogers. So there you go. Chat,
So
what do you guys think? I always like asking the chat. We got a bunch.
I mean, one thing though, when you're talking about music, I do think Flash Gordon wins because of the Queen soundtrack. The only thing I remember about the music from the Buck Rogers TV show was that one episode where there was this music promoter that had this band that called themselves Andromeda, and they had all these fancy keyboards. They were playing this synth rock disco stuff.
Yeah.
And the guy was going to hit one note on the keyboard, and they were going to control the minds of everybody in the galaxy who was watching the broadcast. And then Buck literally jumps and like smashes the keyboard. He's like, no, or whatever. But they were playing this like disco, this pre-new wave disco music, and it wasn't.
If you remember,
it sounds a lot less. They look like Daft Punk, right? The band looked like Daft Punk live.
Yeah. I remember that surprisingly, that's like the episode that I remember the best. And Flash yelled at them and told them to use their feelings, and they basically played like freeform jazz after that.
Oh, Buck did, yes.
Yeah.
Buck.
Oh, super chat. I can't ignore it because I get like one every 16 months. RRTNZ. Just stopping by to put in my 2 cents. Going with Flash in a fist fight, but if enjoys flying at all, then Buck, yeah. Duck Dodgers beats the ball. Yeah, if we're talking like space combat, Buck Rogers has the advantage. Like Buck Rogers is, I think, the original like dogfighter space battle Star Wars type fiction.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think, like, to put it in Star Wars terms, I think like Buck Rogers is more Luke Skywalker and Han Solo is more Flash Gordon. I wonder if that's the reason why Lucas had two characters. You know, I know maybe I'm giving Lucas more credit than he deserves. I kind of think he just did whatever he did without really thinking too much. Get stronger with playing the right music. Sounds like Curly from the Three Stooges. Absolutely, absolutely. You want to know what the stupid inspiration for that was? It was Escape from New York when Ernest Borgnine as Cabby comes pulling up playing the Glenn Miller music. My friend Jimmy just thought it was funny and put it into his character. I'm more familiar with Flash Gordon. exactly. But the more I read, I think I got to agree with Grok and Google that Buck Rogers is more of a military leader, and Flash Gordon is more of an individual fighter.
He's a scrapper.
Yeah, he's a scrapper. The more I'm familiar with Flash, okay, I thought I saw that comment pop up again. So, anybody in the comment disagree? What do you think of this? And also suggestions for next week. I like that Paul's here. So Paul, because Herrenberg's been here a few times. So Paul, since this is your first time here, do you have any suggestions for next week?
I don't know. I just happened to see you streaming and thought I'd listen, and then when you were looking for people to come on, I said, I'm not doing anything. I'll come on. So I'm not really familiar with this particular show to know.
It's all a good fun. What we do is we take two characters and or two, like we did the Empire versus the Federation. We did stuff like that.
Paul? Paul makes some really good comics,
right.
Good Girl comics and Jungle Girl stuff, right? So. Have you ever done a Jungle Girl fight yet? Like Sheena versus
Rula.
Yeah,
Sheena
maybe.
versus Rula, or Sheena versus. I mean, there's lots of Jungle Girls.
There's lots of Jungle Girls. Yeah.
Just so you guys know that I do have a Jungle Girl character that I don't know how to introduce her in Heroic Tales one of these days. So got to have a Jungle Girl character in a comic book, right?
They've had them since the 40s.
Well, Paul does. Force does.
It's gonna be the World War II superhero team. Of course, there's a Jungle Girl.
Of course.
I had one earlier today, but that's guys, don't get old. You remember, you get so excited around lunchtime today when I was doing some mindless activity at work. My brain could think of fun things, and I was all excited. And then I did some stuff that I actually had to think about, and that ejected all the fun stuff from my brain, and I can't remember what I was picking. But I'm trying to think of examples. I'm kind of thinking of Tolkien versus Middle Earth versus Narnia. What do you guys think of that one? And of course, everybody's always welcome to come in and with their 2 cents. Like what is? How about this? I don't know. We'll just do Middle Earth versus Narnia, and you guys can interpret that whatever you want. Like, do you want to live there? Which one do you like more? Which one's better thought out? Whatever criteria you assign to it. So how does that sound?
It sounds interesting. Yeah. I mean, Aslan versus Smaug. I'm just throwing them out there.
I just like the concept of the settings themselves, But you could, like I said, you could finance it. You could finesse it in any way that you see fit. Yeah. And speaking of fantasy, I got this book. I didn't start reading it yet. I just got it like 2 days ago. The Dying Earth. Are either of you guys familiar with this?
Yeah, definitely, no question. That's a far future sci-fi fantasy mix. Yeah,
right. It's far future sci-fi fantasy mix.
Yeah. No, I've read that. Sure. Yeah.
And the reason why I got it, again, I'm trying to get all the stuff that influenced me as a kid. Supposedly, Ernie Gygax just died. Ernie Gygax, the son of Gary Gygax, who was one of the two people that created Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
Dungeons and Dragons is one of the big influences in my nerd life.
Yeah.
Like I describing Heroic Tales is it's superheroes. It's mostly superheroes with some Dungeons and Dragons and then a sprinkling of Lovecraft. That's how I'm describing my comic. But anyway, somebody brought up that Ernie Gygax was super influenced by this book, and this book laid the fundamentals of the magic system for Dungeons and Dragons. So now I got to read it. So is it a good read?
Yeah, I mean it's a classic. It's brilliant, but I don't even know why nobody ever made movies of that stuff. It seemed, I don't know. It seems, yeah.
Yeah, I never even heard of it before, literally until last week.
I used to really be into, one of the genres I was into was far future stuff, because then you could kind of like drop any kind of relation to the present, because you were,
right.
It's a billion years in the future, so anything could really go. Just like the way, for example, Larry Niven, created Ringworld, so he could have like a billion different cultures on one in one book, because the the surface area of the planet was so huge, right? So
Yeah.
just creating different ways of making it easier to come up with original stuff.
Han Solo versus Kirk in picking up space chicks. That's a good one. Have you ever read?
I don't know if you're going to find a lot of space chicks in Mos Eisley, really.
A lot of them didn't look too good.
No,
but
they're a little scarred.
Did you read? I think it's called The Petal Throne. That's a far future fantasy. It's 3 novels. The first one is called The Man of Gold, and I forget what the second one is called. But
I haven't read that.
It's Earth goes spacefaring, and they colonize worlds, but then they kind of lose touch, and some of the worlds like de-evolve. So this world kind of mimics the Aztecs. So it's like a futuristic space Aztecs with magic. I always find that funny.
It became a role-playing game published by TSR.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And so of course I had to read it. Perrenberg, I know you. There's things in this book that you would absolutely love. Read between the lines, but it was you'd like at the end he's fighting over 2 women. Like
okay.
which women, like this woman is like basically he finds her and she's like a slave that he has feelings for, but then this woman is the prize when he solves the adventure. Like, you're gonna get this woman. So like all the wizards like, well, what are you gonna do? And he goes, marrying them both. I was like, oh, okay, there you go.
Man, that sounds biblical, actually.
Dick Tracy versus Sam Spade. That's a good one.
It's a very Middle Eastern solution to the problem.
Dick Tracy. My familiarity with Dick Tracy was the cartoon with the flying bathtubs and the wrist communicators, not the original Dick Tracy where he was basically a flatfoot. Green Lantern Corps versus the Lensman. I've been thinking about that for a long time. I really like the Lensman. Fafford versus Conan. I was going to spoil it right away, but I think that's like the most one-sided fight ever. The Hulk versus Prep Time. Hulk don't need no prep time. He just smashes. Paul, is this the first time you ever caught me doing this? It's Clobbering Time. Have you ever watched it?
Yeah, this is the first time.
One of the things that people always aggravate me with is prep time, and I always say Batman is the only one that people always bring up prep time.
Right. Nobody else is allowed to have prep time except Batman.
And I always say, like, you give Spider-Man prep time. Like, Spider-Man literally invents inventions to take out, like, Mysterio and, other people. Like, forget about it. Reed Richards with prep time is encapsulating the universe, in the tip of his finger. So my caveat is nobody gets prep time. Because Ben Grimm with prep time is taking out Batman without prep time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anybody, because except for the Hulk, every other superhero is like competently intelligent, especially by their 16th comic. If they're not smart enough to survive 20 issues, then they're not a good superhero.
Well, John, obviously it's Clobbering Time. The name of it brings to mind the old 70s giant-sized Thing versus Hulk.
Right.
I'm assuming have you already done that one?
The Thing versus the Hulk, believe it or not, we've never done.
So now, back in the 70s, there was a question, right? I don't know if that question still exists based on how the characters have evolved in the last 40, 50 years. I mean, but I'd say in the late 70s, early 80s, it was, who would win between the Thing and the Hulk? Now I think they've made the Hulk so overpowered
yeah.
that I don't know that it's actually a question anymore. But that's the original.
Yeah.
It's Clobbering Time question, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's an entire family of Hulks, an entire planet of them. Whereas there's still only one Thing, really. There was a she thing. There was a she thing for a little bit, but that was it.
Sharon Ventura. She actually showed up in the last Fantastic Four series. So
of the Grapplers. She was of the Grapplers, right? Originally. She
And
was
that's
Miss. She was one of the Ms. Marvels too.
right. Yeah, she
Yeah.
was the original. She was the original Miss Marvel, if I remember correctly. Yeah. No. Carol Danvers was the original.
Carol Danvers was first. Yeah.
She was the
Yeah.
original non-Carol Danvers Miss Marvel with that very gaudy costume. That's another thing, Paul, that I always say is like we define which version because, like, one of the things I talked about because Batman shows up a lot on these, and I always say which Batman. Like I kind of narrowed it down to this 4 Batmans, and of course you could take these 4 Batmans and subdivide them to infinity. But I always say like there's the Golden Age Batman, and the Golden Age Batman is more grounded. Like early Golden Age, he was using a gun and wasting people,
And he kills people. Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then there's the Silver Age Batman that is more like the hokey, campy Batman, and then I say there's the Detective Batman, and now there's the Bat God. You know, Batman with access to interdimensional technology, and the Grant Morrison Batman who has contingency plans for everybody. And so we kind of define which version we're talking about. Which Hulk, because World War Hulk is beating anybody. You know what I mean? It's so like even Superman. Like, are we talking Silver Age Superman who like had powers that you didn't even remember that he had? Stuff like that. This one I'm kind of interested because I'm about to start reading the Scarlet Pimpernel probably tomorrow, so I'll get back to you on that. I've always liked Zorro though, even before the Catherine Zeta-Jones movie, because but I've always liked Zorro, except for the.
Have you ever seen the TV show Queen of Swords?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, so late '90s, early 2000s, there was a female. You know how there was a lot of really good female-led shows in the '90s. From Buffy and Xena on down. There was a female Zorro show called Queen of Swords. And it was really good. Yeah, the actress was amazing. And I don't know, Paul, you've seen that, right?
I saw it a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. There was a comic book series called Lady Rawhide.
Oh yeah, she's very much in the Lady Rawhide vein, except
that's what I always thought.
Lady Rawhide was like a white woman with red hair or something.
Yeah,
and Queen of Swords was definitely Latin.
She was Latin.
Latin, yeah.
I'm looking up Queen of Swords now. I'd never heard of it, but I remember
great show.
There was that Cleopatra 2525, which was
oh, that was a good show.
Yeah, a stripper goes in for breast implants and up in the 25th century.
Yeah,
I mean that show was slept on. I really enjoyed that show.
That show had the best version of the Joker. The main bad guy was the Joker.
He was, yeah, that's true. And that show was very diverse too. It had Gina Torres as one of the 3. She was amazing, actually.
And
just saying.
If you remember,
you're right.
It was not. I think the show was each episode was like 15 minutes long, and then the other 15 minutes with Bruce Campbell's Jack of all trades.
Yes, it was part of the adventure block with Hercules and stuff. Yeah.
Queen of Swords. I'm looking it up now, but people keep asking me the spoilers for issue.
Queen
4.
of Swords was kind of its own thing. I think it was around at the same time that Relic Hunter was on too. Like I used to watch both of those around the same time with Tia Carrere.
Carrere, yeah.
Yeah.
For
a very brief period.
Herberg, you got to stop interrupting people.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. There you go.
I could see why you liked it. So as I was saying in the
sorry,
Jack of all trades, the woman in Jack of all trades is the inspiration for a character that I'm going to have in issue 4 of Heroic Tales. So there you go, DC Miller. If you're listening, you're getting more spoilers.
Yeah.
TV show. Okay.
What are you looking for now?
What's Jack of all trades?
Oh, right.
Where is this woman? Okay, this is a good. No, that's not. But anyway, that was with that's not, I'll just bring out this up. But this woman is inspiring issue 4 of Heroic Tales.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's I'm already spoiling too much, but this is the issue that people. So, this was a great show. It was goofy. It was silly. Bruce Campbell was, I forget Jack, but he would don a disguise. He would become the Dragoon, and he would fight in the Caribbean against the forces of Napoleon. And every episode, they had the same recurring joke that always made me laugh. He would whistle for his horse, and his horse's name was Nutbreaker. And Nutbreaker would run, and then Bruce Campbell would jump off a roof, land on the horse, and then mug it up. Like in every stupid episode. And then I don't care what he did for the rest of the episode. As long as he did the Nutbreaker joke, or Nutcracker was his name. Hey, KO Joe is here.
Yeah, well, I was watching that because I had watched Briscoe County Jr.
Yeah.
And so I became a Bruce fan after that. And so I never saw his movies. I only saw his TV shows.
His movies are really good.
Yeah, I'm not the Evil Dead stuff never appealed to me, so I just never.
Oh, I remember when the Evil Dead first came out. Like I told you, my older brother was into horror, so he was like, "This is the scariest movie ever." And I remember just because he worked it up, I was just terrified watching it. You know what I mean? Because I already went in halfway scared, and I think I was a kid. I don't remember the exact year, but then Evil Dead 2 came out, and I was like, I remember I invited I think I had 25 people at my house. We actually snuck in beers. We're drinking beers, watching Evil Dead 2, ready for the scariest movie in the world. And it was like, what are we watching? I hated it because I was so freaked out by that. It wasn't scary. It was like Bruce Campbell's zaniness. And then Evil Dead 3 was just, Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
It was just so. And then I went back and watched all
over
three
the top.
And I think Evil Dead 1 is my least favorite of them now that I can appreciate them. But yes, Briscoe County Jr., that show was so ahead of its time. I'm amazed that it lasted as long as it did. And I think they did the Firefly thing. I think they showed it out of order, and I think they kind of did it. They changed its time. Yeah. They just went out of their way to kill that show, and that was a bizarre, funny, ahead of its time show. I agree with that. I forgot all about that show.
Yeah.
So, anything anybody want to say? Anything anybody want to pitch before we close this down? First off, thank you guys for showing up and bailing me out for talking by myself. This show is supposed to be people talking about comic book stuff. It's not supposed to be me pontificating. So, thank you. The One with Bruce Campbell? There was a movie called The One, or
The One, yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, really? I never. What was that?
That was like a martial arts thing, I think.
I know there was The One with there was a martial arts movie. It was a really cool premise where different versions of the multiverse, and one guy realized that if he killed other versions, all that energy would get redistributed, and they would get more and more powerful to the point where there was only 2 versions of this guy left, and they were like,
right, that Jet Li was in that one.
Jet Li, that's not the movie because Bruce Campbell wasn't in that.
I don't think so.
No, but there was a movie called The One with Bruce Campbell. Then that's a Bruce Campbell thing that I didn't see. And that my wife loved that Bird Notice show.
Yeah. Well, the actor who played the main guy in that, he's good. He's been in a few things.
Patrick Donovan.
Donovan. His name's Donovan for Jeffrey Donovan.
Oh, Jeffrey Donovan.
Jeffrey Donovan. Yeah. And Campbell was good in that. I like that stuff. I was thinking of other suggestions, and they're not necessarily comic book related, but have you all ever seen the movie Black Dynamite with Michael Jai White?
No.
Okay. So it's a blaxploitation spoof. And then there's a martial arts spoof, and I'm missing the name. I can't remember the name, but it's probably within the last 15 years. That was fabulous. And just those 2 movies are probably the 2 funniest movies I've seen in the last 15 years.
Black Dynamite. You
Black
said
Dynamite?
Yeah,
Yeah.
from 2009. Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is that like goofing on
Not to be
Dolomite?
confused with Willie Dynamite, which was the 70s one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
No.
is it goofing on Dolomite? Do either one of you remember Dolomite?
It's goofing on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Michael Jai White is great, and he pulls off comedy so well. I wish I could remember the name of the martial arts one, because there's a battle which was the better spoof of the genre. But yeah, so
All right.
the other one was Hong Kong. I want to say Hong Kong Shuffle or something like that, but it's not. That's not it.
I don't know, but I know that I'm starting to fade now. I'm like struggling to keep my eyes open. I wake up at 4 a.m. for work, so this is rough for me. But I want to thank everybody for watching. We've got like 60 people watching. Thank you guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thank you so much. Thanks, Oscar, who was on with me earlier. He does drawings with Oscar every 2 weeks, and I just get a kick out of watching Oscar draw. He's such a talented guy. And Paul, you got Tantalizing Tales still on Fund My Comic right now.
Yep.
I got a copy of Tantalizing Tales. If you like jungle chicks, you're gonna love it. You know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Baba Boom Comics.
Yeah.
And Heroinberg, you have Heroinberg.
I do have Heroinberg #4, but any minute I'm going to have both a full-length episode 25 and the short mini-sode custom 18. They should be out any day on our website. Very soon.
What's your website so people can check it out?
Heroinberg.com, HEROINEBURGH.com.
Don't ask me to spell it because I always spell it wrong.
Yeah. I do have one other thing to plug. I forgot.
Sure.
I completely forgot. A week from Sunday, so March 30th, I'm going to be in Toms River, New Jersey at a comic book show.
Oh, cool.
So if anybody's in, a couple hours driving distance of Toms River, New Jersey, and you want to come talk comics, I will be at the Spring Fling in Toms River, New Jersey.
If I told my wife I was going to New Jersey for the Spring Fling, I would be sleeping in the garage.
Oh, hey, Paul, I'm in May. I'm coming out to New Jersey too. So to the Phillipsburg Con. So how far are you away from Phillipsburg and Easton, PA?
I'm probably 3 to 4 hours away from Toms River. I'm in Northern Virginia.
Oh, that's right. That's where you are. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Have fun then, man. It's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, I am doing the Harrisburg show, or no, the Hagerstown show, in April.
What's that?
End of
four-state
April.
con?
The four-state con in Hagerstown. Yeah, I'm going to be there, and doing the Hershey Comic Con in July.
We'll probably see you in Hershey then.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're doing Fairfax Comic Con in Fairfax, Virginia in August.
Yep. I always, one last thing about Bruce Campbell is somebody on Twitter said this, so I can't take the credit, but I can't stop thinking about it. Wouldn't it be awesome for Bruce Campbell to play Kingdom Come Superman?
Yeah.
He's got the square jaw. Like, he needs to tone down the zaniness, but he proved that he could do it in Bird Notice.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got that book, by the way.
There's a Bird Notice book?
A signed copy of his book. It's called. It talks about his jaw. It's like.
Yeah, the living jaw, something like that.
Yeah. He's got he put out a book. This has got to be 20 years ago now. Bruce Campbell book.
I don't think Bruce is interested. He said he put a picture of himself dressed as Superman, and he said any day.
Yeah. If Chins Could Kill, that's the name of his. That's the name of his book. Yeah, I've got that. So
I'm a big fan of Bruce Campbell.
Definitely, yeah.
Check out Bubba Hotep. And then there's another movie where he plays himself living in a trailer park as a failed actor. You know, that's pretty funny, and he solves.
And if you haven't seen Hercules, catch him as Autolycus. You know.
That's right.
He was funny in that.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I'll see. All right, but I'm gonna go now. So
good night.
the last thing I'm going to bring up is Heroic Tales 2 is going to be launching April 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Michael Bancroft graciously is going to host my launch. So that is going to be, he did a great job for me first time around. So this issue is even better. I strive to do better with every issue, and this one, oh my God, you guys got to see the artwork that Renzo is drawing. Sexy chicks, cool monsters, everything. So I'll watch the trailer. I'm going to leave with the trailer for Heroic Tales, and then Herrenberg. I think you would appreciate it. Paul, you would definitely appreciate it.
Okay.
So I'm going to play the trailer, and then I'm going to do the outro. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you Sunday, 10 a.m. for G.I. Joe issue number 1 on Sunday Comics. And here's the trailer.
Good night. Nice to see you.
So there's the trailer. So we lost Paul. And thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Thanks for coming, everybody.